in talking about the treatments, you mentioned that psychotherapy is first line. But there's a lot of different kinds of psychotherapy for PTSD. And also, I think as you lay out very nicely in the book, not just in treating PTSD, but preventing PTSD, treating people during the acute phase, acute moments after the trauma occurred, sort of in this window before PTSD settles in. And it really is, there's so many therapies. I mean, I remember as a resident trying to learn these different therapies is a bit overwhelming. And there were some in this book that I'd never even known about, like Tetris therapy, the video game, during this period, right? I thought it was great. And the fact that actually the study had a positive outcome, I thought was really interesting. During the acute phase, so getting people to reduce the anxiety in acute moments after the trauma. One thing I was struck by as I was reading about the different therapies is the number of them that involve storytelling to some degree. Whether cognitive processing therapy, whether prolonged exposure, their narrative therapies. And it occurred to me as I was reading that here I'm reading this book by this doctor who's also a writer, and so the number of different parallels popped up. And so I was wondering if you could say a few words. It's almost time to turn over to questions from the audience, but maybe this would be a nice place to end for you to say a few words about that link and what it is about telling stories that seems so therapeutic for people who are suffering from trauma.
So, I mean, there's so many things I could say to that, because like you say, it's so integral to the healing. But one thing I'll say is that oftentimes when someone survives a trauma, especially a trauma that is of human design, they're often left, everything they believe in, everything they hold sacred, everything they hold dear is shattered. And these events often become unspeakable, like too terrible to utter aloud. The problem is PTSD thrives when the trauma remains unspeakable. These unspeakable memories, these unthinkable thoughts, they become these stuck points that inhibit the natural reintegration that is needed for healing to occur. So I think making the unspeakable, like permanently speakable, is actually a key part of the recovery. And oftentimes that's what we're doing in the therapy. Trauma narratives are often very disjointed, they're very chaotic, they're out of order. And helping the patient restore that cohesion to that narration is really key to the story. I mean, there's so much more that goes into the therapy that makes it effective, but I definitely think helping them bring it out and speak about what happened is really, really key to restoring and getting on that pathway to healing.
I have many other questions, but I think that's a nice place to stop, and maybe I'll have a chance to ask them. But I suspect there's a lot of questions from the audience too, so thank you.
Thank you.